Hello and welcome back. I don't know why you're here, and I don't know why I'm here beyond the fact that a long time ago two people had a very irresponsible night, and I'm paying for it for the rest of my life. I'll admit I'm not feeling well today, so we're just going to go with the usual soul builds, because I've got three good, decent ones here for you. For Kosodenote. I don't know how to pronounce her name to save my life. I'm sorry, but basically, I'm just gonna refer to her as a seamstress for right now, if that's okay. My brain is fried, literally. We also have two builds for Maestro, and two builds for the lovely Miketsu. Now, word of warning, one of these Miketsu builds, she's not fully skilled up yet, but, you know, this is basically what we do. So, first up, let's go with our first seamstress here. Grade 5, fully skilled, and this one was actually an experiment when I got her. This was the first one I had, and there were so many conflicting opinions on how to build her. I looked at her abilities involving controlling damage, controlling effects, and transferring damage and everything, and I thought, idea. Thus, House Imp. Increasing damage by 45% when attacking a target with a controlling effect. Basically, her purpose in this is to just put enemies under controlling, use her abilities, and do a lot more damage. Her focus is, of course, mostly on her attack, a little bit of extra crit, a little bit of extra crit damage, but mostly she's here to do her thing. Namazu was mostly because of trying to keep her alive. But also was mostly trying to help keep her alive because outside of her secret zone skin, she still can be a little bit fragile sometimes, I'll admit. So, you know. Is this the best idea? Maybe not, but it's fun as hell. Let's be real. So our second one, and yes, she's in the basic skin, but that's because if I ever actually, when I finally beat her secret zone skin, that's what's going to be going on here. I think you can all agree with me that secret zone skin can be a pain in the secret zone skins can be a pain in the ass. Am I right? Right. So for this one, she's grade 5. She is fully skilled like her predecessor. But this one's, I wanted to go more with a more standard build, as I've heard some people refer to it. So, Seductress, one of our most versatile souls for its crit boost and its own 4-star effects and all. Now, I like to say it was also kind of a pain in a time trying to find one that didn't have an effect hit because she really doesn't need effect hit. But of course, I couldn't resist putting some Hyosubi on here with Seductress because of all the attack boosting. I mean, you can see, she's not as powerful as the first. There's a little less attack here. But she's got also more defense, so, you know, what works, works. I'll admit, I have more fun with the first one, but this is good. Now, on to Maestro. Whew, this boy. Now, for him, of course, I have two separate builds. The first one is, of course, a Fortune Cat build, which is what I see a lot of people suggesting for him, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, after all, his main thing is to use his lingering sound ability to get your Shiki moving faster, as well as inflicting confuse and everything, lowering move bars and all, on your opponents. Basically, he's crowd control, and he's kind of a puller. So why not make it where he's also bringing some orbs to the party? If Boyo's going to be using them, he's going to be bringing some, you know? So, of course, his Fortune Cat set, I went with a heavier, but trying to put more of my focus on trying to boost his effect hit and his defense, because you want him sticking around for a while, as we can see here. Now, a little bit extra crit damage, because, I mean, he is still going to, because Maddening Melody, yeah, is an attack, so, you know. Of course, skyrocketing effect hit as much as possible, because you want that to hit as many as possible. And just for funsies, because I wanted to try to keep him from getting affected too, I gave him Dice Sprite for some extra attack, effect hit, and of course, the 15% effect resistance. Now, to be honest, there's a part of me that's very curious on how, like, he'd run under a full Dice Sprite thing, but at the same time, I just don't want him actually affected by something. So, the next one was built a little differently. The second, while he's built more for getting his effects out and staying alive and doing crowd control, this one is meant to be more of an attacker. Not the best idea, but still. So for him, I have in Shoujo, which, let's be honest, this is actually really good. It's actually probably, definitely my favorite effect hit booster. Soul, because, I mean, when inflicting debuffs, you can ignore an overall effect resistance 30. You have to admit, that is very useful. And I honestly want to see how it would work on him. So this has a little more basis in effect hit, a little bit of effect hit, but mostly it's focused on some attack, some HP, and definitely defense boosting. He's meant to be more front and center. A little bit. Maybe a little off to the right. With Samison for an attack and some crit and crit damage. Now, I'm going to be honest, this Fortune Cat build is superior in my opinion, but this is actually fun, but still I have to say the first one is probably the better option. Now, next of course we have Miketsu, and I've actually nicknamed these two. This one, my grade 6 one, the Fox Blossom, because, I mean, she used the Night Blossom skin. But this is the first one I had, and for her, I went, now, there are people who will say, what the fuck you doing? But the thought hit me, and I kind of realized, for some reason, my brain went, Goddess, Jizo, yeah. So in her case, she gets a 4 points Jizo spit. I'll learn how to speak English eventually. I'm sorry. She gets the Jizo build for an HP boost, which we all love HP. Little effect hit, little resistance, you know, but mostly a little attack. And a lot of defense. Well, some defense. Now, the main point of that being, of course, I mean, our girl here is already using Silent Seal and Suppress. She's got her effect hits and everything, her Fox Realms. I mean, yeah. And, of course, she's got Samson for crit. But you notice that everything here actually does have, except for maybe these 2 bottom ones, does have an effect hit booster. Because you want that, so... Do I think I could have built her effect hit a little higher? Yes. But that's what option 2 is for. If anything, I like this, like, 9,000 plus thing going on here. It's fun. The next, of course, is the Fox Frost, and again, like I said, this one I went with trying to make her more effect-based. as she's got the effect hit shadow down here, which also brings a crit boost to the table, a speed booster over here in the shadow, and then adding in Senescio for the 25% chance of inflicting daze. Now, was this probably the smartest? Maybe not, but I also want to add effect resistance to her, and I'll admit, this plus her other abilities, it's actually kind of fun. If anything, it seems like it's really fun to experiment with those who got effects already, and you can boost those up. It gets very entertaining. This practically was begging for a mimic, but I restrained myself. I restrained myself for once. So, let's go with an in conclusion now. For the seamstress, as I'm going to call her, because again, I can't pronounce her name. This is good. See, as Ductress is a good build for her. It works. But I find that having a house imp is actually a lot of fun. So it could go either or depending on your playstyle. But house imp you don't see as much, man. It gets kind of fun when you find something that works pretty nicely. Now, for Maestro, as I said before, in shoujo, it's fun. It is. It really is. But I kind of like him with the standard Fortune Cat setup because he's already doing a lot of duty. Why not also make it so he has a chance of adding some extra orbs to the mix, especially if you ain't got an orb bringer you come to the party. I mean, you're going to use them up. Bring a little. And of course, with Miketsu, Seneko is fun. I will admit, this is actually a lot of fun, too. But I have to admit, I really do prefer the Jizo build on her, but I know that's not for everyone. If anything, I think that any thing you add to her, just make sure you also are giving her an extra effect boost and everything, because, I mean, you want her putting out those effects, something fierce. I mean, those can be life or death sometimes. Unless you're up against a bunch of shooting dojis, then you're pretty much effed. Or Onikiri, actually, since, you know. But yeah. So that's all for me today. My final thoughts on the matter. And, you know, if you like this kind of thing, or you have suggestions, things you want to see, setups that, or say if there's a setup that looks like fun for you, something you want to try. Or you agree with me that sometimes the secret zones are a pain in the ass. Let me know down below. While you're there, finish up with the rest of the holy trifecta of YouTube with a like, comment, subscribe, and, you know, I'll catch you next time, right? See ya.